Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watchbox, and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, tmosso@thewatchbox.com. It is your purchase and pricing email concierge for your questions about this or any watch you see on any Watchbox platform. Reach out to me directly, email tmosso@thewatchbox.com for pricing. Today, we are discussing a model that pays tribute to the vintage reference A3817. This is the Zenith Chronomaster Revival El Primero, and it combines three different threads of Zenith history. So we have the A386 tritone dial, we have the A384 case design, and the combination of all of this is an homage to the A3817. That said, let's talk about how it fits. In stainless steel, 37 millimeters in diameter, 12.8 millimeters thick, and 46.8 millimeters from lug tip to lug tip with a 19 millimeter spacing between the lugs. This is a very faithful recreation. On my 16 centimeter circumference wrist, the watch wears easily. It's nowhere near the edge of my wrist. It's low enough to fit underneath the cuff. So it's sporty, but it could definitely be a dress watch, and it's definitely unisex, suitable for a wrist as small as 13.5 centimeters circumference and easily fitting underneath a sleeve. The strap is a light brown and a very light brown calfskin. Zenith has declared that this piece will patina over time, and while I agree, it's not particularly inclined to degrade. It's a standard calfskin strap, and it may even be less inclined to degrade because on the underside, Zenith has coated it with rubber, which makes it wonderfully silky against the wrist, but also guards against early degradation of the strap due to the presence of moisture, heat, sweat, grit, or oils from the wrist. We have a lightly contrasting sort of ecru simulated patina threading, and you see there's a contrasting binding stitch as well. Well, that matches the photina of the dial. We'll talk about that in a moment. We have a simple, historically inspired, Zenith branded steel pin buckle for quick adjustments. And now we get to the case. This is the A384 case. Everything loads through the screwed-in case back. So you can see right here, we have a monoblock case topside. So there's no seam between the bezel and the mid-case. That's a very clean and spare look. Now, it's also very much in the spirit of the 70s, so we have this lapping machine style radial satin grain on the top of the case. I'm not going to call it the bezel, because properly speaking, the watch doesn't have one. There is a polished bevel on both sides, and then the full lug ends and case top are polished at each end. We have polished pump-style chronograph pushers and a polished Zenith Star branded crown. We have a dramatically cambered sapphire that creates the off-axis distortion of a plexiglass, as though this were a vintage thermoplastic like you would have seen in 1971. We have a bit of a complex dial. I'm going to call it complex because there's a lot going on. We have two scales outboard. You can see we have a tachymeter, which is base 1000, but then we also have a pulsation scale with base 15. So you can use the tachymeter to gauge the speed of an object, and you can use the pulsation scale to gauge the beat per minute pulse rate of a patient. You start the chronograph, you count to 15 pulses, and then you stop the chronograph, and whatever number is adjacent to the hand is the beat per minute rate of the patient. So that is a blackened track outboard. Moving in, we have a white center dial. We have a sawtooth-like profile for reading chronograph seconds and fractions of seconds. Then we have steel rhodium-plated applique indices that are photinaed, and photina is designed to create the look of vintage tritium that would have aged over half a century. Well, I like the look of it. It matches the strap nicely. Some people have strong feelings about photina. I'm generally not for it unless it's just for colorful effect. If the idea is like ripped jeans, I'm not into pre-ripped jeans, and I'm generally not into a cloying degree of photina. But this is a very colorful watch, and it works well as a complementary color. We have the original El Primero script from the period. We have a vintage Zenith-style logo. You can see Zenith is written old school with a vintage font. Then we have the overlapping subregisters in tritone silver, gray, and blue. And you'll note that here you don't lose any precision. Some previous versions of this overlapping tritone dial in the last decade cropped out so much of the time-telling scales that you couldn't actually use them. That is not a problem here. Now you can see chronograph components have a red varnished seconds hand, and then we have a white varnished instantaneous jumping minute hand and a white varnished hour hand, the constant seconds, featuring a blue varnished hand and blue printed subdial, so that's nice to see. We have a little stepped aperture for the date. The watch does feature a quick set for the date, and I will demonstrate that. Remember, with an El Primero, you pull the crown out all the way, and then it operates the quickset. The intermediate position on an El Primero moves the hands. You can see that the hand sweeps very smoothly as the El Primero beats 10 times per second, or 36,000 vibrations per hour. And that was its claim to fame back in 1969 when it became the first automatic integrated high-beat chronograph. Put it up against your ear, it's audibly faster. On the reverse side, you can see this watch is 50 meters water resistant. It has a caliber 400, which is a standard El Primero, the direct descendant of the 1969 caliber 3019 PHC. So this is a bidirectional automatic winder, beats 10 times per second, has a 50-hour power reserve, has a quick-set date, pivots on 31 joules, and it has a chronograph with a column wheel and a lateral clutch. And unlike a lot of automatic chronographs, the El Primero caliber does not bury these features. You can see them and appreciate them. The column wheel feel is incredibly crisp, and I love the little nostalgic golden chaton fixing the intermediate wheel of the chronograph. Taking a quick look, you can see some elements that are well-established Zenith styling features, such as the use of engine turning on bridges rather than base plates. We have satination on all the wheels. You'll note both blued and polished screws. They mean different things to the Zenith watchmaker, so that's why you see both here. Chronograph components are quite nicely satinated across their top, and the beveling is mechanically executed but handsomely wrought. We have a blued column wheel, and you can see all the screw heads, whether blued or polished, have been black polished underneath. Reach out to Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details of this Zenith Chronomaster Revival El Primero A3817. Actually, before we go, do a quick loom shot. I like the fact that the chrono seconds hand on this watch is loomed. Every chronograph should do that.